Well, Dave, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. Great talking to you again.
Always a pleasure, Kim.
And looks like next week we're going to hear more about Fast and Furious. More hearings announced, a third hearing talking about Fast and Furious going to take place on July 26th. That's next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, and I think next Tuesday is going to be a pretty interesting day, and probably Wednesday and Thursday after that, too, because we've got some of the cream of the crop that they're going to be appearing before that panel. Darren Gill, former attaché to Mexico, was one of the original guys who kind of blew the whistle on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
William Newell, the former special agent in charge down in Phoenix, who's been linked to this fiasco. The current acting attaché down there, Carlos Cadino, who I think will have some interesting things to say that'll interest people on both sides of the fence. So we're gonna see some fireworks or potential fireworks over there, and I imagine that there's going to be quite a bit of fallout after that meeting next week.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right. You know, we were talking with Representative Issa yesterday, and you know, he said, I mean, it appears by all accounts that the political appointees of the Justice Department were where this block in communication between DEA, ATF, and FBI started. We still don't know all of the details, but, you know, Dave, Representative Issa even said yesterday that the more he learns about this, the less this is a problem with ATF in the field and more a problem of DOJ in D.C.
You know, I tend to agree with that because all the months that I've been writing about this, the arrows keep pointing toward Washington, D.C., where this foul-up really got fouled up.
Mm-hmm.
And now that the FBI and the DEA have been implicated, you know, we've even been talking about possible paid FBI informants being among the gun runners.
Yeah.
This is just an incredible story. And now I'm convinced more than ever that there's a concerted effort to cover this thing up.
Well, I mean, by all accounts, DOJ is still not cooperating. You know, I asked Representative Issa about the request of documents and emails from those 12 current and former DOJ officials that was made, well, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago now. And I asked if they've gotten any of those documents, and he said, as of yesterday, no, not a single one.
Yeah, and that bothers me, too, because what that indicates is that they're going through any of these documents that they may decide to provide before claiming that they can't provide some of the information because of ongoing investigations. And they're redacting a lot of information from whatever materials they're going to send over to Issa. And all that's going to do is make him angrier.
Yeah.
And you know, I've said this before, the American people deserve to know what's going on here because all this was done with our tax money. We've got guns floating around out there that neither you or I or any responsible gun owner in this country wants floating around out there. They haven't been recovered. From what I understand, some of them are showing up on this side of the border. Some of them are still showing up on the other side of the border. Most of them haven't shown up yet, and the problem is when they do show up, they're at a crime scene.
Right. Well, yeah, there's that. Yeah, and, you know, the other thing, Dave, is I talked with Congressman Farenthold yesterday, who also sits on the House Oversight Committee, and asked him about, you know, other cases, because we've heard about the possibility of other cases utilizing the same sort of MO of Fast and Furious that may have taken place around the country. You know, under Project Gunrunner, there were 4,500 different operations. It was Fast and Furious the only one that did this, or are there others out there, you think?
Well, that's a question that needs to be answered. I know that there's this project or Operation Gateway or Getaway down in Florida that they're looking at real hard. And I have to be honest with you, and this is a reporter talking. If those guys used the Project Gunrunner, Operation Fast and Furious as a model for mounting these other operations. We've got a federal agency, or maybe a couple of federal agencies, that are being run by raving lunatics.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
What else? What else can you say? I have friends at the ATF.
Yeah.
Who sit back and they just marvel at this, and I've been told repeatedly that there is no way that a sane person in this agency would allow guns to walk, and particularly that number of firearms.
Mm-hmm.
They would go out and they'd interdict these guns. They'd take down the bad guys. They'd work them and sweat them and make them start talking. They'd file charges. They'd do everything possible, legally possible, to stop those guns from getting into the wrong hands. Operation Fast and Furious, they didn't do anything. They let the guns go.
Yeah, and again, we don't even know how many at this point. I mean, the estimate's 1,800 to 2,500, but the guns keep showing up south of the border, and I mean, honestly, we really have no firm idea of just how many guns were walked across.
Well, you're right, and I have written repeatedly using different numbers as they get tossed around. But I keep coming back to this 2,500 because when you sit down and you add up the number of guns that these guys allegedly purchased and firearms that we know that have been recovered, I think between 2,000 and 2,500 guns that were involved in this fiasco is a pretty accurate estimate.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't know where this story is going to go next, but, I mean, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I am anticipating that once this debt ceiling talk is over and done with, once we finally reached whatever deal it's going to be, Fast and Furious, I think, should be front and center for the Washington Press Corps.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting to find out someday over the horizon that all this business going on with the debt ceiling was just an attempt by the Obama administration to distract public attention away from Fast and Furious?
Trust me, that thought has crossed my mind, Dave. Yeah.
This story is so bizarre by the nth degree that I don't know that we'll ever really find out everything that went on with this. What we do know is spooky enough.
Absolutely. Hey, Mr. Workman, appreciate you coming on the program, sir. We'll do it again very soon.
Well, yeah, I can just about predict that.
In fact, I'm guessing at some point early next week, perhaps next Tuesday after those hearings, we'll be talking to you again.
I'd be willing to bet my next week's paycheck on that one.
All right. Hey, Dave, thanks very much. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
You bet, Cam. Thank you.
Dave Workman, the Seattle Gun Rights Examiner, joining us here tonight on Cam & Company.